Hey there guys, I'm SonicGhost and welcome to another challenge. Today we got ourselves a brand new challenge happening here at the top of the hour inside of Splatoon 3. And this is coming right off the heels of the latest Splatfest that just happened here in Splatoon 3, the Summerfest. So because of that, I already saw the said news for this challenge starting since I wanted to get my results in from that latest Splatfest to get my said sea snails, but not really that big of a deal. We'll just be looking through the current stage list here in the news, and we'll see in that stage list, we'll have ourselves a challenge here. So we can see we got ranked battles, we got regular battle, X battle. More importantly, our challenge happens on Wahoo World and Crab Leg Capital, and it is Splat Zones for the said mode. So, without any further ado, let's go ahead, head over to lobby, and see what today's challenge is all about. Because today's challenge is none other than the bucket of crab tanks. Crab tanks are on the loose, strafe to safety. Whether faster crab tanks are your dream or nightmare, now they're real. You can only use weapons with the crab tank special. The sideways walking speed of the crab tank will be greatly increased. Your speed rolling with ZL will not change. And only primary gear abilities are enabled. Secondary abilities will have no effects. So this is very much like the other special focused events that we've had here for the challenges in Splatoon 3, except this time around the crab itself has been modified, but we don't have any special charge happening in the background like we do for challenges like Too Many Dryzukas or Inkjets for Everyone. So there's no passive charging this time around. And we only have ourselves the crab weapons here, so that's 6 weapons in total, 7 counting the order dualies here that I have, so pretty small list of weapons, but you know what? It's a little bit more than when the game came out, because in hindsight, we really didn't have many crabs added to this game after the first wave of crabs happened when Splatoon 3 first came out. We only had 2 other crabs added since. So we're going to get things started. I got some freshest fits here. We're going to be selecting ourselves the Order Dually replicas to start out, and we're going to jump straight into the challenge itself. As usual, we're going to be playing our 5 games worth here, see where we stack up at the very end, and then from there, obviously I play more of this after the fact and get a feel of the challenge from there. But this time around, I'm actually not playing, as you can see, because I'm doing all these crazy movements and the controller's up here in the air, turned off. That's simply because I've already recorded this video, but I unfortunately had some audio issues with it to a point where things just sound inaudible. This thing was a powerhouse in this game, was first making rounds in the first few months. Now it's a lot more balanced, so the weapon, or the special, excuse me, isn't seen as much. Some of the weapons are, but... So, we're just doing a take 2 on this one, so I'll be watching this back alongside of everyone here. Not the first time we've done this in the challenge series, but the spirit of the challenge itself is still here. So, let's go ahead and jump into game number 1 here on Crab Leg Capital, jumping straight in. Want to get our crab here as soon as we can to see how that said crab tank functions in this challenge this time around. But since we're playing a standard old game of Splat Zones here and we don't have any kind of special charge happening in the background, we do have to be careful about dying here in these matches, because when we die, we'll lose a lot of our special, and there's going to be crabs everywhere here in this said challenge. So because of that, it's going to be very easy to lose your special charge and have to build it back up. So even though crab tank is the main focus of this challenge, there are going to be some games you're just not going to be getting that many crabs. It just depends on how long you can survive. And when there's a bunch of crabs on the opponent's sides out, now you have to be really careful, because they're going to be gunning for you and the rest of your team. So we got to be very careful here. But as a dually player, I do want to rush in, try to get myself some kills with this said weapon to pressure back the opponents. And now that we have crab tank, we can see here that the strafe speed is very fast, but the ball speed, as the notes for the challenge said, are unmodified, so it's still pretty slow. But it is good to go in the ball form every once in a while to realign your shots, but also to have some armor so you don't instantly die while trying to use the crab. But it is a very fast crab tank now with that modified strafe speed. And mind you, the strafe speed mainly is just for left and right movement. If you're trying to move forward and back, that speed is not altered. It's just strafing itself, not the overall movement of the crab. which at first is kind of what I thought they meant with the rules, just the overall movement was changed, not just one specific value, but that is how it works in this said challenge. But there are going to be times like this, for example, where we have Crab on standby, but it makes more sense to use our main weapon than the special, so we'll have to build it back up. And that's kind of a problem I felt in this challenge, that since we don't have any special charge happening in the background like the other special focus challenges, there are going to be some games where you're just not going to be getting many, if any, crab tanks at all, and now you have to focus more on just playing this like a normal game of Splat Zones. The gimmick here is really cool, as we can see when we get the strafe around here with the crab at super fast speeds. It makes the crab way more powerful, which is saying a lot, because when this game first came out, Crab Tank was seen as the strongest special, and that took reign for months. You saw people always using the Crab Tank on any team setup because it was just that powerful of a special. But it got dethroned a few months into the game when balance changes happened. The Crab Tank itself was made a little bit weaker to pretty much every single special in the game and every weapon and such. So now Crab is not used nearly as much as it was when Splatoon 3 first came out, but it's still a very devastating special when you do think about it. But that was game number 1, and that was a pretty good victory. So let's go ahead and swap now to our next setup here, which will be the Splattershot Pro. But because we can only use primary abilities here, I am wanting to change up one of the abilities here on my gear set. So I'm going to change my shoes to a special power-up to try and extend the length of how long Crab Tank will last, because with special power-up, we'll get a little more time using the said Crab Tank. That's the thing you have to be really mindful of in the challenge, because it is just a primary-only challenge. You have to be mindful of the said abilities that you do put on, so things like last-ditch effort and comeback are going to be really useful because they give you a lot of different perks all in one ability. And then you also want to focus on very specific builds as well, depending on how you play, like some quick respawn to come back faster, or some super jump to get back into battle, some special charge up to actually get your special faster, special saver if you want to save it while dying. You have to be more mindful of what abilities you want going into each game, because with only 3 slots to work with, that's a very small pool of abilities that you'll have to pick from. But going to game number 2 here, now with the Splattershot Pro back on Crab Leg Capital. Let's go ahead and mark someone immediately over on the opposing side of the field. Try to paint up here as much as we can. Splattershot Pro doesn't get that many crabs compared to some of the other weapons. Like, if you want a weapon that's going to get a lot of crab tanks, Splatch-O-Matic is still the way to go, because that weapon does a lot when it comes to painting, and the burst bombs really help to get special as well. But that's not to say we can't get special, as right here we got ourselves 3 crabs against 1. Let's go, Crab Army! I love how it's just, because everyone's using the same special, you'll just get so many crab tanks. This really does feel like when Splatoon 3 first came out, because you saw nothing but crab as everyone's special for a while on team comps, so it's just triple crab. Why not? It's the strategy that works. How do you be a crab? 3 more crabs! But the thing you have to be careful of when you are the crab tank user is, while you will be moving a lot faster with strafing now, you still can't turn that easily on a dime. So in that case, I'm fighting a crab user and they can't just instantly turn around with their cannon and shoot me. If you want to turn around easier with the crab tank and get a better aim at someone, that's when you use your ball form. Because when you strafe, you take a very long time to turn your cannons. So instead, what you want to do is you want to aim at one area, go into your ball form, and then turn. When you come out of your ball form, you'll be aiming at that new area you're now looking. It's a much faster way of turning your main weapon. So if you need to realign your shot, the ball form is still really useful for that. But that was game number 2, really fast. And that's another win, so we'll definitely take those wins. And let's go ahead and move on now to game number 3. So now for our next game here, we're going to get ourselves a different weapon setup. So let's go ahead and swap over to the Splatana Stamper Nouveau. This is one of the other weapons in the game that were added after the fact that has Crab Tank. This and another weapon we'll be using later, the Heavy Edit Splatling, both got Crab Tanks. So this is the weapon we'll be using for now. And this one's pretty good to have for Crab Tank because we can use our Toxic Mist and then use Crab to attack someone right afterwards, because we can get someone stuck in an area using Toxic Mist for a bit. which can help if you're trying to just pound them full of your bullets with the crab. Not to mention that the Splatana Stamper is a powerful weapon as it is, but it's not going to get many specials because the Stamper is good at painting a lot of area, but it's not good at doing that fast. So because of that, we're probably not going to get that many crab tanks using the Splatana Stamper, but it is a powerhouse of a weapon. So going to game 3 here on Wahoo World, let's see how well this setup works out for us. So jumping in, want to go ahead, just get an idea of what everyone's using. I see a lot of people using a lot of Special Saver because they probably feel like they're going to be needing that, as fighting a bunch of crabs and the main weapons, you're going to be dying a lot, so using Special Saver is a viable strategy if you want to get some of your special back, but I wouldn't overstack it, because Special Saver as a main ability, it will save a decent amount of your special when you come back, but not really enough to justify using it over a lot of other perks in Splatoon 3. I would personally rather have Special Charge on than Special Saver as a main, because you get a lot more out of Special Charge Up than Special Saver. But that's just my personal opinion. Coming in here, we got another crab just up above on a perch. That's probably the best place to put your crab, don't lie. Gonna swing down below here with my Splatana, and the worst time to run out of ink is when I'm trying to fight the dually up close. That's the unfortunate thing about the Stamper, though. It does use a lot of ink, and because I swapped out my comeback with the Special Charge instead, now I'm not going to have those extra ink perks coming back with comebacks. I won't have one main of ink save and one of like ink recovery and such like that. So that is actually kind of hindering me, and in hindsight, I should have just swapped out my shirt instead of my hat piece. So I should have swapped out having quick super jump instead, but it is what it is at this point. And in fact, maybe even the shoes too, because I prefer to use stealth jump, but when you have only the primary abilities, you can get away without using stealth jump if you're more careful with where you're jumping in on a map. So if you're not just jumping straight in the middle of the action and you're far enough away from the opponents, then you'll be okay, because opponents hopefully won't notice you when they're nowhere near your jump location. Unlike with stealth jump, where sometimes you're trying to jump into the action, it's best to have stealth jump just to make sure that an opponent may have a lesser chance of seeing where you're jumping in. Doesn't always work, but it will protect you more often than not than just not having stealth jump. That's why I always use that on the shoes. And also, just quick super jump gets you back in so fast, so it's really hard to not have that on a build. I'm just so used to it at this point. But in this game, we're really just playing more around the Splatana than the actual special, because we've not got a single crab. In fact, we keep on fighting crabs with the Splatana, to no avail, mind you. But hey, it's been at least helping keep my team focused more on the Splat Zone, because in 3, 2, 1, game. There is no more worries about this said game, because we got our 3rd win in the belts. So that's pretty good. Even though we didn't get any crabs for this one, and I didn't feel like I did much to help my team, it still worked out, so didn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. But yeah, of all the weapons, maybe don't pick Splatana Stamper if you want a lot of crabs during the Bucket of Crab Tank challenge, because you're not going to get a lot of crabs with this, just saying. You'd probably need to stack a lot of Special Charge Up if you're going to really use this weapon and get a lot of crab tanks. So yeah, probably not the best for this challenge, but it is still a fun weapon to use. But now with that game done, let's head into game number 4, and let's pick the other weapon that was added later into the game that got a crab. This is the Heavy Edit Splatling Nouveau. So this here has Splat Bomb and Crab Tank, which is a pretty good combo if you ask me. And I really like the Heavy Edit in general. It's not a weapon I've used too much after first released back in the 1-year anniversary update of Splatoon 3. Mainly just because I liked it, but I still just preferred other Splatlings at the time. Like, this thing's powerful, but it was also situational, I felt, in certain regards because of its range issue. It has the same range as the Nautilus weapons, but with Nautilus, you can hold a charge and move around in your ink to realign yourself, but you can't do that with the Heavy Edit, and it takes a long time to charge up to level 2, which gives you that super fast shot rate. But going into game number 4 here, we're fighting a high-level team, a 2080 to boot. So this is going to be a rough one, but let's go ahead and just do our best. moving into the midsection here in the map, getting an idea of where everyone is. Looks like people are trying to get their special, but also farming up right around where the zone is. So just kind of pushing in immediately. And right away, let's go ahead, take over zone here, paint as much as possible, and try to keep the enemy team at bay. Thankfully, because we're a heavy edit, we can do a lot of damage from far away, but they have a heavy edit as well. So even though we can do a lot, they can as well. My kit specifically this time around, I built out with comeback, quick super jump to still get back into action fast, but also now I swapped up my shoes for some ink resistance because Swatlings really do benefit from having some ink resist up. And because I can have that as a sub ability this time, I'm just sacrificing that for my main ability. But we got a crab up above. This is kind of a weird spot to fight a crab. You can kill the crab user with a bomb, but you have to get a really good shot out because you have to kill the rider in order to stop the crab tank. You can destroy the crab tank itself, but they have a lot of HP. And in this argument, you're probably going to just destroy a crab by using a crab. You're not going to really do that with your main weapon that effectively. If you do, it's going to take a while. So throwing bombs at the crab is a very good strategy. So that's what we're going to be trying to do if they're out of reach. Use our heavy edit here, just trying to pick them off here from our base because now the opponents are in our area, which is not great. Got ourselves a crab ready to go, but really no good spot to use it yet. You don't want to just use it in the middle of nowhere. You want to use it closer to the enemies. And that dually had some reach because I didn't see that guy anywhere near me when he did the dodge roll just to attack me in turret mode, and he just wailed on me with his set bullets. I got a crab coming in. Gotta just move out of the way before they take me out. Charge up my shot, and unfortunately we just lost the lead, so that is something we'll have to fight for, but we'll just use our crab here to pick away the opponents nearby, take out one in the process, and get that zone back. So let's work on getting that penalty timer just pushed down so we can start getting points once again. Moving in, we want to throw a bomb over the crab just to pressure him back. Didn't really seem to kill the guy, but I see him down here. Just take out that dually. Really close still to death, which is not a situation I like being in, trying to fight a dually up close. They have the advantage compared to me as a Splatling, but got a Splatomatic here. Kind of traded in the end. Kind of, not really. They died after I died, so it's semi-trade. Want to move back in. We're back up over in this corner, which is not great because can't really do too much up here, and I don't have the best range when there's a crab on the field. Every weapon in this will never outrange a crab. Crab tank will just have the most range in this. Just gonna use turret mode here, and oh, unfortunately, someone got a really good throw with that splat bomb because they threw it right on my head, which instantly kills. So that is really unfortunate. And this is what I was talking about before, where you can kill the rider, which will instantly destroy not only the crab tank, but the player itself. It's really hard to do that with a bomb, so I'll give that guy credit for landing that bomb straight in my forehead. I don't recommend all three of my teammates jump into the exact same spot. That was one of the worst jumps I've seen in recent history in this game. You never jump all to the same location. That was really concerning. And my team, as a whole, is lucky to be alive. So let's just move our way back and try to build up our special at this point, because it'd really help to have some more crab. Go into mid to kind of help push back and keep this zone all painted. We're hit with a toxic mist, but it's really not that big of a deal because I have comeback on still for my headgear, so I do have increased movement for about 20 seconds every time I respawn. So that will help me move around a little bit more. And unfortunately, the opponent crab was more effective than my crab because they destroyed mine almost instantly. But my team is fighting real hard to contest mid, and unfortunately we just lost that battle, so now the opponents are pushing down their time once again. This is a very back and forth game. Both teams are doing really good at controlling the center, which is what you want to see. So we just got to keep on pushing it ourselves and just hope that we can keep this push going into overtime, because we need that overtime at this point in order to win. And unfortunately, it's looking less and less likely that's going to happen, because now the opponents have taken over mid once again. So we got to take that zone back. The opponents here are all in the middle of the map, and they are fighting hard. We got bombs out, we got a lot of shots, we got crabs coming out. It's a lot, but we have our own crabs to fight back. But unfortunately, it's not enough, because the opposing team kept that middle painted, which means that is it for Game 4. Our first loss for this challenge, but I'm fine with that loss because this entire time, we were contesting that zone back and forth and back and forth. Like, both teams were playing really aggressively, so that was a really close game. Probably one of my favorite ones I've had in a while because I don't just like complete steamroll games from either side. I like having a good back and forth like that. It's good to actually have some kind of competition. So that was a fun one, even though we did lose at the end of the day. But let's move on to our final game now, which for this game, we're going straight for that said Splash-O-Matic and all special charge. So this here will help get Crab a lot faster, which that's been the biggest problem in this challenge. The fact that we don't have any kind of special charge happening in the background like other special focused challenges. Now we have to rely on just getting it manually, which is fine in some regards, and then in others, it just doesn't feel like you're really playing a challenge. It just feels like you're playing normal Splat Zone with some weapon restrictions, because that's kind of what's starting to become at this point. I'm just seeing more crab tanks just later into the matches, not as soon as we start, which is kind of what I come for a challenge for in this kind of scale. I come for the weird, wacky stuff, and we haven't really been getting any of that. Hopefully we'll be getting that for our final game here. In Game 5, back at Wahoo World for one final hurrah. So we got ourselves 3 Splash-O-Matics. This definitely feels like early day Splatoon 3 team picks, if I do say so myself. Let's jump in and just work on getting our crab right away. Looks like a lot of the opponents are trying to get their crab before they head to the zone here, which it's fair. I probably want to play more for that special than for the actual objective. But we got ourselves a zone right away, so let's go ahead and push in. This crab is about ready to run out, so I'm just going to keep on firing and take him out. Now, thankfully, when you jump with the Splash-O-Matic, you don't really have that accuracy issue that other weapons have. It'll still shoot straight when you are jumping. It's one of the most accurate shooters here in Splatoon, so that's going to help out quite a lot in close situations if we just got to jump around to avoid shots. I got to be careful when I'm jumping here because I don't have stealth jump, so I don't want to jump into action. There's a higher chance that an opponent will see my jump and take me out when I land. At this point, let's just try to keep that zone contested. Push in here, take out one, take out another guy, so that's 2. And let's head back over to the zone area. And we're getting very close to the end of the game with a wipeout to boot. We haven't got a crab tank yet. Like, we haven't played for this said special at all in this game. This is going to be our only crab because we're at 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. That concludes our final game. We played with a build that specifically focused to get as many crabs as possible, and we didn't get really any. So it really is showing that the Bucket of Crab Tank special, while interesting, it's not as interesting as you would have thought because of the lack of special charging happening in the background. So you don't really get many crab tanks in this. In fact, that game we only had 1. So the point of the challenge sometimes eludes you. But our score here is 1996.7. Not bad for just getting to play with 4 wins and 1 losses. That's pretty high. But yeah, that was it for the said challenge. I do like the challenge, but for the lack of the passive special charge happening in the background, like other challenges with things like the Inkjet for everyone, Too Many Trizukas, Reef Slider Challenge, stuff like that, it really takes away from the challenge at that point because you don't really see as many crabs as you would in other special challenges, which means you don't really see the special effects as much. And it's really cool to see those effects because then you really get to play something different. And having that special charge in the background, you can get charged really fast. So here I'm just shooting around with my max charge ability set, right? And I'm getting my special in about 5-6 seconds. Now, if we had special charges happening in the background passively, now we can just paint around and then it can be filled instantly, which means we can play for our special more often, which is what happened for the other special focus challenges. I wouldn't want to say crank up that dial too high in special charges happening passively, maybe 5 to 10% at the very most, but having some kind of special charge happening in the background would have helped this challenge to feel a little more unique because As it is, Bucket of Crab Tanks is interesting for modifying the crab, and it is a lot of fun to play, but half the time I felt like I was just playing a normal round of Splat Zones, where crab tanks just kind of here and there more often. It didn't feel as unique as some of the other special challenges, but it was still fun, and hopefully you had a chance to play this challenge. If not, hopefully it shows up again at some point in the rotation. Maybe with that slight modification with a tiny bit of passive special charge, but that's going to do it for this said challenge, so thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and with that said, I'll see you guys next time.